Welcome everyone! Today we're going to talk about getting AI ready for healthcare, pharma and biotech and how to transform complex data into scalable impact. The biggest barriers to AI aren't algorithms, they are data silos, inconsistent processes and slow adoption. Without standardized, connected and trustworthy data, even the most promising AI pilots struggle to scale. This live talk show brings together experts from Alphega Europe, Yuri, Veerdonk, and Julius Clinical, Lotte Smets, welcome, and of course Michael from Digiteum. Together they will share practical approaches to standardizing complex, multi-country datasets, navigating regulations in AI adoption, building engagement so teams use new tools with ease, and using real-world data to improve clinical trial targeting and patient outcomes. But obviously, we're also curious to you guys at home. We would like to know how far along is your organization with AI in healthcare, pharma or biotech. So we're going to start the poll. We're very curious to your opinion about how far you are. Is it A, not started yet? B, in the beginning phase? C, in the integrated phase? Or D, in the advanced phase? So we'll talk about the results briefly in like 1 minute. But what do you think, Yuri, what they will vote on?
Yeah, of course, I'm curious about the results. To my opinion, most companies are in the beginning phase, so definitely adapting some sort of AI, like for example using SendChat or Microsoft Pilot for meeting summaries, or just drafting your emails. But the step after, integrating AI with your operational process takes expertise and effort, so that will be a harder step to overcome. And I think most companies are investigating that, but not there yet.
Yeah, and what do you think, Lotte?
Yeah, same early stages. I think we're all starting to explore which benefits we can gain from AI. So yeah, I think that will be where we are.
Yeah.
But let's see what the audience.
What the results are. I think we're in the right direction. What most of the people are in the beginning phase, using AI in an ad hoc way, in an experimental way, and really making AI scalable. I think that's the next phase, right? So we're going to do a deep dive into your situation. Yep. Lotte, you're representing Julius Clinical, a CRO doing clinical trials. Can you explain more about your core business and what you're actually doing?
Yeah, sure. So we're a contract research organization, and what that means is that we do clinical trials for pharma or biotech companies. So they will have a compound and that they want to have investigated to see whether the efficacy is as they expect. So they will develop a protocol, and that's when we will come in, execute the protocol, making sure that we have hospitals that are ready to recruit or screen participants and include in the trial. And then we support the hospitals in making sure that they have the right equipment, the right data collection tools to ensure that we can collect that data and also do the analysis and well, get the outcome of that clinical trial.
Ah, interesting. And where's the data coming from? What is the main sources?
Well, the ultimate source is, of course, the participants, but we use different data acquisition methods. So that can be samples from the labs. It can be what we call a CRF, case report form, that is used to collect specific type of information from the participant. It can be wearables, smartwatches, but it can also be patient-reported outcomes that are collected via apps. So questionnaires, for example, on cognition or any other type of data.
And while collecting all this kind of data, how do you actually use AI in your daily operation?
Yeah, at this stage we do it mostly in technology that's provided by our service providers. So, for example, we have data acquisition tools that are used to collect certain information, and then there will be a central monitoring platform or an analytical platform on top of that, pulling in data from different data sources and making sense out of that data, so to say. So instead of looking at individual data points, the industry is more moving towards a holistic view of the data to make sense out of the data, but also to pinpoint where the critical issues or challenges are for that specific trial.
Mm-hmm. So to say, you're using a central monitoring platform.
Yep.
But you're also, as you mentioned before, for example, Microsoft Pilot for basic administrative processes, for instance.
Yeah.
What role do they both play in improving data quality?
Yeah. So, for example, we use Microsoft Copilot for prompting to enhance or speed up script writing or to create CRF specifications. We use it for our operational part, where we are a big part of clinical trials is documentation. So creating meeting minutes, things like that. You can use Copilot to support you with that. So in that sense, we are taking away some of the administrative burden, but then in the data quality, we're really looking at those data anomalies that you cannot pick up with the more traditional type of data review processes, because we go from a let's say a method where we're looking at individual data points from different angles to that approach where we're looking at it the whole, for example, a participant at the data at a participant level to see how they are doing and potentially also predicting that they will have an adverse event or they will have something that warrants an action from one of our project team members, so to say.
So I'm curious, with having that more holistic view, because you have more data points you can measure, and because you have the tools to find correlations between them, do you come to different conclusions than, let's say, 20 years ago, when everything was more one-dimensional and research was done on based on paper and with traditional statistic methods?
I think you can get more depth, so to say, in the data, so you can get more out of the data. But I think the main thing, what we're seeing, we're able to identify potential issues earlier on. In, for example, the data cleaning process. Yeah. So where we go from a paper process 20 years back, where all the data was collected on paper and then put into a database, to having direct access to the data. And that is really something that can bring a lot of additional information on how the participant is doing in the trial, whether they are compliant with the protocol, whether there are any protocol deviations, which may affect your clinical trial. And I think that's becoming more and more real time. And that's, I think, really the added value.
Yeah, so that contextual exactly. Information and predictive insights. Yeah.
And finding those deviations while using AI, is that for you, Yuri, also something you recognize in your daily situation?
Well, my daily situation is a bit different. I'm representing a pharmacy chain, and the type of data we collect is sell-out data or dispense data to people. And at this point in time, the type of analysis that we're doing is on the European scale, more sales-oriented and operational improvement focused. But from previous analysis that we did, for example, in the Netherlands, we were also focusing on patient medication usage patterns. And that's where there's a lot of overlap indeed with the type of work that Lotte is doing.
Yeah, interesting. Before we move on, Lotte, I would like to ask the audience to also use the chat. Please use the chat because we love interaction. Whether there's stupid questions don't exist, obviously, but just ask these questions to Lotte and Yuri and also Michael if you are interested in maybe a little bit more deep dive. Lotte, I'm curious because as a CRO, you also have to face with strict regulations like EMA regulations. Maybe these kind of regulations may limit the use of AI. How do you cope with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if their intent is certainly not to limit AI, because I do think they embrace it. They see the value. There's an opportunity to reduce the lead time for a clinical trial, to make cumbersome processes more effective. But it's also, we need to do it in a way that we are ensuring that the participants' safety and the well-being of the participants. So they say they certainly encourage to start with it, but they do expect to have a risk-based approach to the development of AI, that developers are thinking about the risk and putting in the mitigations, that there is a governance framework, that you have standard operating procedures that you follow, but also that is available for the end user, that there's a human in the loop, right? So that it's not the AI doing something that we do not have control of. So having that oversight of what the AI is doing and having that checked by a human, and that's certainly something that they advocate for. On top of that, they also embrace the open communication. They like to be part of the conversation, and so I do think there's a lot of opportunity, but we do have to take it step by step and have good use cases, show the added value. And I think if we can have a couple of those use cases in place and build up on top of that, I think that's really gonna give a huge boost to the industry.
Yeah, I see. And Yuri, is that something that you also have to face with this kind of strict regulations, or?
Yes, definitely. In privacy, GDPR regulation is very related to our type of business. As Lotte, I agree that EMA is doing a fantastic job in making sure that the work field is there to explore, but in a safe manner, with catch nets behind it. Obviously, for lawmakers, it's the difficult part is to keep up with the current pace of technology, because there are already solutions available for the problems we just stated in a law or a rule. And you have to rewrite the rule in order to open a back door.
It's going so fast
with that technology,
and we really have to keep up.
Yeah.
And so I was also a little bit curious, Lotte, because many in the industry describe pharma as rather traditional companies, and sometimes a little bit hesitant towards AI. Is that something that you face as well?
Yeah, there's certainly a level of, how do you say, skepticism is not the right word, but let's say they don't want to be the first one to do it and then fail, so to say. So they'd like to have more evidence to show that it works and it can indeed be done in a clinical trial setting. On top of that, I think there's also if you go to conferences and things like that, AI is the buzzword, and we do like to talk about it a lot. But when it comes to the let's say the practical implementation, there's a lot less knowledge sharing. So I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity to collaborate closer, and and move forward quicker. I think the other challenges that probably you're also facing is data silos. So every pharma or CRO has a lot of data, but it's their own. It's their most valuable asset, and we're not that eager to share that data to build the AI models and things like that. So I think that's another challenge that we're facing.
It's a little bit of a culture change in the whole chain.
Yeah. So you mentioned it already, but part is risk mitigation. So in healthcare, typically there's always a risk if you get something wrong that in the end a patient suffers or even potentially dies. So that is hardwired in people's minds that work inside healthcare. The other thing is a lot of players in the healthcare environment have to have quite high investments to develop new technology or new services, and you need to get a return on investment. So I think that's the second reason why we are very prudent with sharing knowledge with each other.
Yeah. It's in the core of the industry, and we maybe you have these good examples to show that it should be more open. Lotte, you work with a data team and a data science team. Both teams work together.
Yep.
How do they actually incorporate medical expertise?
Yeah, so both teams are part of our digital innovation and statistical services team. So in that sense, they are already collaborating, and we have a lot of people with a biomedical background, so to say. So that's where that knowledge is there. Where our data science team is currently mostly focusing on real-world evidence and the analysis of that data. The data management team is more focusing on the pivotal clinical trials, where we are setting up the data acquisition tools, the data review strategies for the specific studies. I think where the synergy is that we both need a good data foundation to do the work. We're both data-driven, we're both tech-savvy, so we can give context to the data for our more operational teams that maybe have that a bit less. So making sense out of the data, that's really where these departments add a lot of value for the clinical trials and for the organization as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And also, you do a lot of site monitoring in order to collect the data, and in order to collect the data from wearables and apps and things like that. Do you think AI will have impact on site monitoring in the near future?
Yeah, so the site monitoring is predominantly done by our clinical research associates, and they could go to the hospitals to facilitate the physicians with the research. So they are not collecting the data itself. That's really done by the hospitals. Mm-hmm. But I think that is a more traditional way of supporting the clinical trials. So going to the hospital, seeing whether they've done what they needed to do and enter the data correctly into the different data acquisition tools. And I think with the risk-based central monitoring approach, where we are applying AI, LLM, and these types of model on the data, there's no longer a need to go to those sites and look at individual data points. We can add more value to the data by looking at it centrally. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the role of the CRA will also change. Instead of going to the sites and being an auditor, they will go to the sites and support them and train them to execute the clinical trial processes in a better way. So going from a very manual process, we can go to a more tech-savvy and science process, so to say.
So that changes the perspective on ways of working. And do you have any other concrete benefits of using AI in your current daily operations, like in terms of speed or accuracy? Do you have specific measurements?
Yeah, I think at this stage we're having still difficulties or we do not necessarily point our wins to AI because it's such embedded in our clinical operations, day-to-day activities. But I think if you would take the technology and the techniques away, then you would actually lose value for your trials, because we would not be able to identify certain risks as early as we're currently doing. With that, meaning that you may only find out that there are certain issues with the data at the end of the trial. With these techniques, we can bring that forward, and that is to the benefit of the rest of the trial, because then we still have time to mitigate those risks and ensuring that the data is of good quality. So we do not yet attribute it to these new techniques, but I do think if we would take it away, our trials would take a lot longer and we would be less secure with the data quality.
Yeah, and you will see and notice it immediately when it's taken away. And when taking a look forward, let's say 3 to 5 years from now on, what's your vision on the impact of AI in clinical trials?
Yeah, I think the opportunities are endless. I can think about screening the right participants by looking at huge databases instead of having the physician do it from their own knowledge, so to say, or their own participant, the participant that they know. It can be even better detection of data anomalies, looking at the data holistically instead of at individual data points. I think there's a lot of opportunity to take away manual processes. We still do a lot of what we call query management, so querying all the data instead of only looking at the critical data. And so I think the opportunities are endless, and I think we need to start now to get acquainted with it, to learn from it, so we can really benefit from it. We should not wait.
Yeah. Start now and don't wait too long in order to use AI.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the audience. Let's see if there's any questions from the audience. Guillermo says, hey, welcome everyone. Let's even less information. Hey, Guillermo, welcome. Victor, welcome. Luciana also likes to be part of the group. Welcome everyone. No specific questions until so far. So Michael, I'm actually very curious because you've already helped a lot of pharma companies, biotech companies and healthcare companies in the past. What are the most common barriers they face before using AI?
Yeah, very good question. So I would say that we see 3 types of barriers. First is cultural, then structural, and skill-based. What is cultural? Healthcare organizations work in highly regulated environment, and they possess a tremendous amount of sensitive data. And using this data processing these data with AI creates barriers, because you can't just share it with any large language model because of security, because of governance, compliance, and so on. So you have to prepare infrastructure and to use a model with your data. This is a barrier because it's not easy to do, and not every organization prepared to do this. Second is structural. Structural means that a lot of companies, healthcare companies, have their data scattered between different departments, or if this is some large company operating in different countries, then the data must be structured, scattered between those offices or locations. We had this in practice. We saw this in practice. This slows down implementation of any central cloud-based data processing systems, because you have to put your data in order before you can use it in AI. And this leads us to the third barrier, skills-based, because healthcare they focuses on healthcare, and not every organization has enough qualified resources to build that data pipeline, cloud storage, and everything else required. And this is probably why we saw in the poll that most of the companies either haven't started yet or only be on the beginning stage, because all three barriers are quite serious, and for them to go further.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, no, similar.
Yeah, so I agree with the good thing about organizations in healthcare being operationally focused is that the patient is always number one, and it should be.
Yeah.
Customer should always be number one, and the result is quickly visible for companies in healthcare as well. The negative side of it is that corners are often cut. Because of that focus on the patient. Sorry, a bit of a cold
Take
there.
your time. Maybe some more water next to you. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that under the cost pressure that healthcare is under, the focus is fully on operation, and that's why there is less focus, less investment on support functions.
Yeah.
And that's why data is not that structured. Governance is often not in place. So this hinders the progress.
Yeah, I see. And Luciana from one of the viewers, she asks, what are the governance tools you use today to comply or rely on AI? Is it guardrails? Is it post audits? Reinforced learning? Does someone has an answer to that?
No, not
Meaning extent?
not directly. No, of course there are multiple governance rules for managing data in general. And in terms of AI, there's the regulation that you have to comply to.
Yeah. And Michael, do you have specific governance tools that you use, or that you are some frameworks that you would?
So we are usually, when we've been working with our clients, so we're using the infrastructure, right? Because data governance is a duty of someone who owns the data. So, and this is our clients.
Okay. Thank you. Michael, just another question. Do you have maybe a little bit of concrete example that you can describe how you've helped a client standardize data and lay the groundwork for AI adoption?
Yes, sure. We have, so I can give you one iconic example. We've been working with a company which provides educational and medical treatment services for preschool kids with special requirements. And when we started our collaboration with that company, we found out that they have almost all their processes were paper and Excel based. And those processes include not only so working with a lot of providers of medical and educational services, I mean, like in-house and vendors. They have budgeting processes, payout processes, treatment schedules, education schedules. So a lot of data coming from different angles, and those data were paper-based or Excel-based, which led to they had quite significant monthly budget, and those mistakes meant significant financial losses. So we started with them with a workshop, data readiness review, as we usually do in such situations, and based on our findings, we proposed them a solution. How can we help them to automate everything they do, create a proper cloud storage, data processing pipelines, and so Once everything was approved, it took us around 8 months to create the system. And now I'm happy to say that they work with zero mistakes, taking decisions. Everything works quicker, more efficient, and the customer is happy.
Yeah, we see that as well. Still, a lot of data is being collected in Excel spreadsheets, and I'm not so surprised that you mentioned that. It's a thing that we see a lot.
Yeah, so no one talks about it, but
Yeah.
still in practice.
Everybody is ashamed, but still, it's the next best thing you have.
Yes.
We have a nice question from Annette Oostergaard. She asks, to what extent do you see current tools delivering automated documents, such as protocols, startup documents, and reports? Which products are you using?
If you're talking about clinical trial protocols, one of the initiatives is to develop an e-protocol. So something that is actually a framework to build your data acquisition tools on. But that's really in the early stages, and there's a lot of working groups working on these initiatives. But I have never seen one. A tool itself that is in production.
Okay.
So I know there's people are looking at it and looking at what it can bring for the industry, but it's not something that is, to my knowledge, readily available. At least not that I've seen.
I see you nodding, Yuri. So
Yeah, same for me.
Okay.
I don't see automatic generation. I see people using AI tools to draft documents and then make the final touch, do the final touch themselves. I think it relates back to the poll we had, right? We're in that basic beginning phase, but not automatically integration yet.
It's easy for us because we've been building such tools for our clients, dashboards, reporting system, fully automated based on their data. So I don't know any existing tools on the market, but probably because of my professional deformation, we've been building it for our clients.
Okay, so the tools are existing already, but it's
it's custom built.
And custom built.
Small scale.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's move forward to the next poll, which is for you people at home. We're curious, which process are you considering applying AI to? Is it A, diagnostics? Is it B, treatment and therapy? Is it C, medication and pharmaceutical management? Or is it D, healthcare administration and logistics? We will discuss the outcomes shortly. What do you think, Lotte, will be the main answer?
I think maybe diagnostics. Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's more for Yuri.
I'm biased here. For us, healthcare administration and logistics is the area of focus.
Yeah.
But saying that from a perspective, we're part of a distribution wholesale company, and actually pharmacy up until now has been a micro distribution center as well. So that's where our first focus is.
Yeah, let's wait a little bit more for the answers to come in. Up till now, we see that most of the people are willing to use AI for healthcare administration and logistics.
Diagnostics.
And it's safe because it doesn't impact the patient directly.
Yeah.
True.
But actually,
it's a safer
it can be
choice.
applied everywhere, and should be applied everywhere.
For more generic work processes and to speed up administration and meetings, things like that. Yeah.
Would be great though if we could do it for diagnostics, right?
Yeah, that would be even more interesting.
Yeah.
Most people use it for healthcare administration and logistics. Yuri, let's take a deep dive into your specific situation.
Yeah.
You're representing Alphega Europe, and you've transitioned from national to Euro-based skill BI. Can you explain something more about the project?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, we're a pharmacy chain, franchise chain. So we have independent pharmacies in Europe that use our formula for the look and feel and the programs we organize. We also have business consultants visiting our pharmacists to support them in running their business. This helps the pharmacist in saving time, and also it helps the pharmacist to focus on patient support rather than doing the regulatory things and operational things. And the type of reporting that we're building is also supporting that process. So helping pharmacies to improve their sales or to be more efficient in their operations. And we started doing this at a European scale because of the economy of scale, obviously, but also to benchmark between different countries what the product portfolio looks like, what the best performing pharmacy is, how it's performing compared to others, and product category comparison, etc.
And well, as I mentioned before, as you mentioned before, you started in the Netherlands and then you are currently scaling it to Europe.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges in standardizing data across these countries?
Yeah, so good question. That was one of the biggest challenges because there's no European standardization, definitely for the commercial products that are sold inside the pharmacies. For the prescription products, we have the ATC classification, the anatomical therapeutical class that is standard for all prescription products in Europe. But for comparing all the commercial products, this was not existing. So we had to come up with a standard. Another challenge were local rules and regulations and contract situations with pharmacies that would limit us to access the sales data or to identify a single pharmacy, for example. Also, the interpretation of the European GDPR rules is something that's different from country to country, or maybe even...
So country differences, right?
Yeah, or the legal team inside the country interprets the rules differently, because there is actually a big gray area in the regulation. And last but not least, funding was also one of the roadblocks in the beginning. Fortunately, with Alphega having a European focus and our being taken over by an American company that has a much more centralized approach, that possibility opened up. But before, we were working as each country, each for itself in their own silo. So yeah, those were the critical elements that we had to overcome to set up this European database. We achieved that now, and the next step is to utilize the information that's in it.
Yeah, interesting. So before we continue, we have an interesting question from Simon Adams. And Simon Adams, thank you for your question. Quality systems in GMP processes are notoriously complex and unfriendly. Will we see AI simplify this to provide better compliance and costs? Who can answer this question?
Yeah, that's looking in a glass bowl.
Yeah.
I think that part of the complexity can be reduced by AI, at least making the problem statement or the data necessary to overcome the complexity more understandable for us humans, and especially for lawmakers as well. Next step will always be the adoption, the acceptance in the healthcare environment. I'm not sure how this will develop and what the trust relationship between AI and humans will be in order to completely take away the notorious complex and unfriendliness. But
It's a little bit guessing still.
there are some opportunities there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of things can be simplified by using AI, but this is, at this point, this is not a question of technology, but this is a question of legislation and industry practices. which again depends on legislation, compliance, and similar things.
Yeah, yeah.
Strong point. I have a strong feeling that technology is now outpacing human adoption.
Yeah.
And well, specifically in the healthcare environment, data savviness or knowledge about new technology, how new technology can help us overcome certain issues and roadblocks. We are lagging, and the focus, at least for me, in the next year and years after, will be to make sure that data literature is upscaled in the company, and that the people in operational functions are becoming more custom in making data-based decisions.
Daily decisions. So data literacy is maybe some of the obstacles. Do you recognize that?
Certainly. Yeah, I think from the department that I am in, I think we're data savvy and tech savvy, but I think our more operational teams have that less. So that's why they need the context to the data to put meaning to it. And I think that's something that we can do as data-driven people. But I also think it's important to have the processes in place and the training in place to make people familiar with this new technology. Because just rolling out the technology will not help if people are not using it optimally. So I think it's a combination of technology, processes, and training that's really going to make a difference in the adaptation.
Yeah, it helps improve data maturity
exactly.
and knowledge. Yeah. So Yuri, you've actually developed a patient adherence analytics. What important insights did you already discover about patient behavior?
Yeah, important to mention, we developed this in the Netherlands. There's a big benefit for pharmacies in the Netherlands in terms of patients being loyal to their pharmacy. And the second thing is the pharmacy is registering the patient information because of the health insurance company. For those who are unfamiliar to the Dutch market, health insurance companies have preferred products that they want the pharmacy to hand over to distribute to the patient. So the pharmacy needs to know, needs to recognize the person. And that gives us the opportunity to track a person in time, obviously anonymously. For me, it's nothing more than a number, but I can see recurring pickup moments. And with that, and taking a long enough period, I can calculate whether a patient is overusing medicine or underusing medicine. And combined with a care program, we would give that information back to the pharmacist. He or she can identify the patient and approach the patient next time he or she walks in the pharmacy, or by phone maybe, and open the conversation about what's causing this deviation, and installing mitigation actions, like, for example, automatic renewal of medication, or maybe discuss it with the general practitioner to change the product or change the dosage.
And how will they get that information? Do they have like an interface that they can get this information from? Yeah,
good question. So our IT department has built an interface. It's actually integrated with the pharmacy management system, and within that care program, the pharmacist can track a number of patients to contact.
Okay. Interesting. So it's very proactive now, and you see pharmacists being really engaged with patients in the end. But how do you actually expand this real-world data analysis to European markets?
Yeah, that's a pain point, because in my introduction I already stated that the Dutch situation is a bit different. In the rest of Europe, we don't have that patient tracking ID, and patients don't tend to be that loyal to one pharmacy because there's a pharmacy on every corner of the street, and whichever one is closest, you'll pick. But the Alphega Europe is launching loyalty programs with a loyalty card that gives you a discount, which will support patients being more loyal, but also give us the opportunity to track that identification number. And there are also care programs on specific disease areas developed in which the pharmacist will, for a longer period in time, have interaction with the patient, do measures, and also register that in our software system, so we can do the analytics and determine what kind of intervention actions the pharmacist can discuss with the patient.
Okay, and in order to be really successful, you also work closely together with manufacturers, and you've launched a program where you provide reporting with insights and KPI. Can you tell something more about that?
Yeah, so this is early stages of the things we do with our database. Now we have it. Next month we will launch a report specifically for manufacturers to get more insight. First of all, on how big is Alphega, how well are we growing compared to the market, for example. But also specifically on the sales for that manufacturer. How is it developing over different regions, different product categories? What is their uptake or growth? And also the market share development, or the share of sales they have within our pharmacies or within a country. And last but not least, especially the consumer healthcare manufacturers, they invest in campaigns. For example, a summer campaign where sun lotion is promoted in the pharmacy, and we can show them much better than before what the result of their campaign was in terms of growth of sales.
Yeah.
So that's early stages. We're now focusing more on commercial things, with a later stage being able to track patients in time and get more insight on adherence. That enables us to do much more in disease development, tracking, or patient real world data for patients.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about adherence, because I can imagine that that's also very valuable information for the manufacturers, but you were just touching on it.
Yeah, so all these market insights is very interesting for manufacturers. Do you find that there's then an overlap in the business and revenue models of manufacturers and maybe Alphega Europe, or how do you see this?
There is. We both benefit from increasing the sales. Obviously, I'm also developing this, as mentioned, to support pharmacies in increasing their sales. If we can show that we are supporting pharmacies to do better, that makes our formula more attractive as a franchise. So that's definitely where the overlap is in the revenue model.
Yeah. And well, you've used AI in standardizing product coding and product identification.
Yeah.
Can you tell something more about that?
I would love to. Yeah, that's one of the things that gets me very enthusiastic. So I already mentioned the lack of a uniform product coding and categorization. So especially for those commercial products, we made a centralized category tree, and we're using AI now to classify the complete product database for each country according to that central hierarchy tree. So we are talking about 500,000 products that need to be classified. So manual work was out of the question. This is mainly intended for over-market reporting. So, for example, if we need to break down the sales in specific categories, we want it to be the same for every country. a next step, an evolution of this AI product will be to identify identical products in different countries or substitutes. And with this information, we could help pharmacists making quicker decisions in case of stock out situations.
Can you tell more about the volume of data that you had to face?
Well, the amount of products, 500,000.
Yeah.
In terms of volumes, we're talking about terabytes, not.
Yeah. So this is basically a data quality issue that you've really come over and that you've solved while using AI, right?
Yeah.
And did you also have like to train the model, have like a human in the loop for decision making?
Yes, that was one of the learnings, and I heard you mentioning it as well. And I think actually, rules and regulations also push us towards this, that we should always have a human in the loop to verify results. And for this specific situation, there's not a direct risk for a patient involved here. But we did include a loop to make sure that the algorithm could learn. So we had the initial training, but we also have the results validated, or maybe give a different suggestion to the algorithm by a human to make sure it learns and improves over time.
Yeah. So, Michael, I'm curious, laying the data foundation, the data quality, and coming to a certain level of data maturity, what is your advice to the people who are watching?
Well, this is a good question. So if we're speaking about data maturity, then further, the companies need to assess what they have, what data they have in possession, how this data is structured, and how to use it best. I mean, where are we now, and where should we be tomorrow to get most of our data? If you agree with me. So after this exercise, you can see a roadmap, right, which will lead you from now to a future where you have central data cloud storage, you have governed processes, data collection processing processes, everything's compliant, and you can build some IT system which will help you to get to analyze your data, get data insights from it, and use it in practice.
I'm curious, and specifically for companies in the healthcare environment, when you enter the conversation with them, do they all most of the time already have a good vision, a good idea about what kind of value their data can bring, or is that also some new territory to discover for a lot of companies?
I would say not necessarily. Often people just explain that they have issues, scattered data, problem with finding the right information. For example, if this is a company which develops, for example, new ways of delivering medications, right? For them, they process based on data, because to develop something, I mean, you need to analyze some basis, some data, and they are saying that they can't do it quickly, they can't do it efficiently because data is everywhere, not centralized, and not always they know where is what. So they explain their pain and looking for us to find a solution.
Yeah, so the focus is initially on
They probably know there's value, but not which value.
Yeah, and first the structure needs to be solid before the next step can be.
That's correct. You need to. So with what we do, we run this workshop, which I already mentioned. We understand what they have, where it's stored, in which locations, and what actually they're using the data for. So And then we can propose them some simplified, standardized way of using their own data. I mean, how you can get most of it, most of value.
Yeah. I have one question from Simon Adams. Thank you, Simon. The question is, data entries by humans is frequently flawed / incorrect / incomplete. When asking AI to classify vast numbers of data entries, how do you ensure that it identifies errors and doesn't accept these as core data? Must be tricky, right, Lotte?
I think in clinical trials, it's a bit different when we create these data acquisition tools in a way that we can already mitigate some of the risk with data entry. So there will be, while entering the data, there will be warnings and things like that when the data is not according to a certain standard. But when you're talking about free text, I can imagine it's
more tricky.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah. Yuri, before we close this talk show, I'm very curious. How do you see? What is your core takeaway for the ecosystem in healthcare or in pharma for speeding up AI? Or what would you change?
Yeah, I think we already touched upon it. I think the data literacy of people in healthcare is definitely one of the biggest focus areas, given that technology is already developing quite rapid, so we don't need to give extra attention to that. But definitely the people getting used to use data in their daily work, getting rid of this Excel culture, but also the lawmakers to know more about technical opportunities to ensure that we are compliant.
Yeah.
And by that opening more options to utilize it, because currently the door is closed. And even though there are already technical solutions to for example, to safeguard a patient's privacy or the data privacy of a person, the back door is not opened yet because the lawmakers just kept it closed and are very
should be more balanced,
risk averse. And next thing is. We need to create a group of people with a critical mass. And for example, in pharmacy business, we do this with business consultants. We train them to use the dashboards we create to help the pharmacist improving their operation. So we cannot educate every pharmacist, and that's not what we should be, because they are already educated on healthcare and chemistry, for example. But with educating the business consultants and supporting them in doing their job that's how we try to get the ball rolling.
Okay, thank you, Yuri, for this bright explanation. We have one more question from Emily Moore. Thank you, Emily. The question is, validation of systems is a key regulatory requirement in clinical trials. With the growing use of AI, do you see opportunities for AI not only as an analytical tool, analytical/generative tool, but also as a way to support or automate parts of the validation process itself?
I would say yes.
Yeah,
certainly.
Why?
I think it's indeed a very extensive process in which a lot of manual effort also goes into, and I think that's where the opportunity is to automate a lot of the testing. We, for example, create test scripts when we set up a data acquisition tool and test it. I think these type of processes can be automated, but also the actual execution then of the test scripts could be automated. So I think that there's a huge win as well.
Okay. Well, Emily, if you feel free to reach out after the talk show if you have any more questions. Last takeaway, Michael. Looking ahead, what is the most realistic next step for pharma companies, for healthcare companies, to really start with AI and really scale it?
Well, if this company already reached some success, for example, with the MVP, this may mean that they already have data foundation. So the next step is to create a roadmap to scale this solution up to the organization, to add security checkpoints, governance, compliance, and scale it out to all organization operations.
Mm-hmm.
And with once this is done, they have to also use some checkpoints for measuring understanding and measuring efficiency on real business cases this organization uses in practice to tune the system during practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a natural way of developing this further.
Yeah. I think this is a very clear approach. This brings us to the end of the talk show. Thank you, Yuri, for this good explanation. Thank you, Lotte.
You're welcome.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Michael. This brings us to the end of today's talk show. We've seen how organizations like Julius Clinical, Digiteum, and Alphega Europe are moving from messy, siloed data towards connected AI-ready operations. Whether it's improving data quality in clinical trials, standardizing product coding across Europe, or envisioning pharmacies as health hubs, today's conversation shows that AI's impact in healthcare depends on the data foundations we build now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to our audience for your questions and poll participations. And we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.